Have you ever just stopped and wondered what your mind is actually doing? I mean, it feels like one single unified thing, right? But it's actually juggling two very different and pretty mysterious jobs, all at the same time. Today, we're going to dive into these two fundamental realms of your mind, consciousness and intentionality.
So let's start with the biggest question of all, the one that's kind of behind everything. What is a mind? We all have one, we use it every single second. But what is it really? It's the most familiar thing in the entire world to us, and yet it's also one of the greatest unsolved mysteries there is. So let's start to peel back the layers.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll define the mind's two main territories. Then, we'll take a closer look at the realm of feeling and then the realm of aboutness. After that, we'll get into the huge debate. Are they separate or are they inseparable? We'll see why this is such a big problem for a purely physical view of the universe, and finally, why this is all still very much an unfinished quest.
All right, first things first. Let's dig into the fundamental split that really defines your entire mental landscape.
So here's the big distinction that philosophers make. They basically split our mental states into two giant buckets. The first bucket is for states that feel like something to be in. The second one is for states that are about something. Think about it like this. There's the feeling of warmth on your skin from the sun, and then there's the thought that the sun is 93 million miles away. See the difference? One is a raw feeling, the other is a thought about a fact.
So let's explore that first bucket, that incredibly strange and personal realm, the world of feeling. This is your private, subjective, inner world of experience.
The fancy term philosophers use for this is phenomenal character. But it's just a way of capturing a really simple, profound idea. For any conscious experience, there is something it is like to have it. Your mind isn't just processing data like a computer. It's creating this rich, vivid, inner movie that you experience as your life.
And this brings us to this key concept, qualia. Qualia are the specific, raw felt qualities of our experiences. It's that sharp sting of a paper cut. It's the unique redness your brain creates when you look at an apple. It's that unmistakable, delicious taste of chocolate. You can't really explain these things to someone who hasn't felt them, can you? They're totally private, first-person experiences. Okay, so one part of your mind feels, but what's the other part doing? Well, the other part thinks. It points at things. This is what philosophers call the realm of aboutness.
So, an intentional state is any mental state that represents or is about something else. Your belief that it might rain later today isn't just some random feeling floating in your head. No, it's a mental state that points to a possible state of affairs in the world, the weather. It has content, a subject. That directedness, that pointing at-ness, is its aboutness.
And here's a really key difference. Unlike a feeling, which just is, these intentional states can be judged. They can be measured against a standard. Your belief that Paris is the capital of France? That's true. Your desire for a slice of pizza? That can be satisfied, or, sadly, not. It's their connection to the outside world that gives them this special property.
And this leads us right into a massive philosophical showdown. We've got feelings on one side and aboutness on the other. So, are these two realms totally separate things, or are they tangled up together?
On one side of the ring, you've got the separation view. This camp says, look, feeling and aboutness are two totally different kinds of things happening in the mind. But on the other side, you have the representational view. These folks argue that every feeling, every single conscious experience is also representing something about the world. For them, the what it's like to see red isn't just a raw feeling, it's your mind's specific way of representing redness out there in the world.
So why would anyone think they're separate? Well, the people who hold the separation view have some pretty good arguments. First off, you can have a belief, an intentional state, that's completely unconscious. Right now, you believe your own name, but you're not consciously thinking about it. Second, think about a vague feeling of dread. It has a really strong feeling, a what it's like, but you might have no idea what it's even about. These kinds of examples seem to show that feeling and content can be pulled apart.
So why does this all matter? I mean, who cares if philosophers are arguing about this? Well, it matters a lot because it hits right at the heart of one of the biggest ideas about reality itself, physicalism.
Physicalism is, at its core, the idea that everything, from stars and planets to the chair you're in to your own brain, is made of physical stuff and just obeys the laws of physics. For a physicalist, your mind can't be anything more than a really, really complicated physical process happening inside your skull.
And here is the giant problem for physicalism.
How do a bunch of neurons firing in your brain create the private, subjective feeling of seeing the color blue? Or how can a bunch of electrical signals in your brain be about your dog or your plans for next summer? If these mental things can't be completely explained by or boiled down to physical things, then physicalism, as a complete theory of everything, has a massive, massive problem.
And look, this isn't a new problem. People have tried to solve it before. Take an early attempt called philosophical behaviorism. They tried to say that mental states are just behaviors. So, being in pain wasn't some inner feeling, it just meant you were crying out or wincing. But that just doesn't work, right? Critics pointed out that you can be in horrible pain and not show it. Or you can fake being in pain. The behaviorist shot back, saying that even talking about an inner life was cheating. It assumes the very thing they were denying. But as Professor Kierlin points out, that defense kind of misses the whole point. It completely ignores the incredibly powerful, deep-seated gut feeling we all have that our mental life is, in fact, an inner one.
This whole history of failed attempts brings us right to where we are today, and to the simple fact that understanding the mind is very, very much an unfinished quest.
And this quote from Professor Kierlin just nails it. That private, subjective, what it's like to be you, it's so fundamental to how we experience the world that any theory that just waves it away or pretends it isn't real just seems to be missing the most important piece of the entire puzzle. It might even be irrational to ignore it.
And that's really the big takeaway here. Both the feeling side of our mind, the qualia, and the aboutness side, the intentionality, are just stubbornly resistant to being explained away in purely physical terms. They are this huge, fascinating challenge for both science and philosophy. So we end up right back where we started, with that enormous question. After looking at these two mysterious realms of feeling and aboutness, what do you think? Is your mind, with all its rich colors, deep thoughts, and private feelings, is it all just what your brain does, or is there something more going on? The search for an answer is far from over.